inspired me to my home theater was I'm 56 years old now, so I grew up in the 80s. So I just love sound. I loved Top Gun when it came out, and it just got inspired for doing. I got a 2-channel system, and then just from there on, it just kept going on from there to what VHS and Beta, to what Laserdisc, then the DVDs and Blu-rays, and then I built my first theater in 2004. Built it all myself. It was my first home, and then I got the chance in 2016, 15, 16 to rebuild a second theater. So all the mistakes I made in the first theater, second theater. I just enjoy. I love movies. I like the space. And when I come watch a movie, it's usually me and the wife. We'll watch a movie, and I just love movies a lot. So I rarely go to the theaters anymore. So I just come in here. We just sit back, relax, pick a movie, and just enjoy. I think we do this. We probably watch a movie 3 to 4 times a week, and I kind of feel like a kid, you know. It's a theater. I got it all set up the way I want it. My friends have helped me with dialing it in really well. We just come in here, and like I said, I feel like a kid every time. I can watch a movie, and I'll watch it 10 months later, and it'll still put the hair in my arms, and it's just an incredible feeling. So, I love it. So, yeah, for clarity wise, I would say Lucy, and Passengers would be the ones that they're digital 4K DIs. They're a digital film, so it really shows the Christie projectors off well on the colors. Sound wise, I'd say Top Gun Maverick. I would say Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman was really good. Yeah, Passengers, Lucy. Well, when I did my first theater in 2004, the home was just had 8-foot ceilings in the basement, so I was restrained by that. It was about 15 feet wide by about 19 feet long, so you're restrained by the height, and especially if you're Atmos sound. When you get a little bit higher height, the Atmos sounds even better. So when I got a chance to build the second theater, building my next home, I built the space 9-foot ceilings in my basement, but I did 11-foot ceilings in this one area to get the height better. That's one thing that really makes a difference. And then just trying to design it, I did it all in my head. This is all designed from me, just from doing it for the second time and just watching other videos, watching other things, just taking notes for everything, and just built it all. I built this whole theater in 6 months, the first part. The projector room, that was done later for the Christie Griffyn projector, and just keep going. And yep. For movie nights, we have people coming over. I just hope they have a good time. I let them pick the movie. I let them pick the best seats. Obviously, the front row, middle is the best seats, because when you do sound for an entire room, when you calibrate it, you can calibrate the whole room, but if you do, you're taken away from the fine-tuned. So if you do it just for the front few seats, it really makes a difference from the middle seats to the corner seats and stuff. I just hope they come over, have a good time. You know, it's more about the atmosphere than, and the movie too, but it's just more about getting together and relaxing and just enjoying a movie. I just think I've got to know, by building this theater, I've got to know a lot of people. I've demoed this for hundreds of people, and you get to know a lot of people, and I have some really, really good friends now from it. So it's just a nice way to get together, and we all talk about the home theater stuff. And it's funny because we go to home theater get-togethers, and it doesn't matter what the size is. If you got a really big screen like this, or you got a small screen. We have a friend that's got an apartment, and he built it's a 12-foot screen in his apartment with all the felt and everything, and he did an awesome job. It's cool just to see other people's creations. So this is what the home theater it's all about. Just getting together and enjoying a movie and enjoying talking about everything about it. Advice for getting into the theater, getting a home theater: do a lot of research. a lot of research, a lot of questions, a lot of videos, watch a lot of stuff. Start small, and I wouldn't say go and just go spend all expensive stuff right away. You will upgrade. Unfortunately, we all upgrade. We'll keep upgrading. I'm hoping right now I'm at the pinnacle where I am. Unless something breaks, I'm hoping that I don't have to buy anything else at the moment. But that's the fun part about, we always want to get this last piece of equipment and stuff like that. But definitely start slow and do a lot of research and ask a lot of questions. Even now, some of my friends are way better at me than tuning my system. They come over and say, hey, something doesn't sound right. Great. How do we fix it? I don't get mad at all, because they're here to help me and stuff like that. So you only know what you know, and what you don't know, learn or ask. Yeah, I mean, I like to come down here. I do like to just come down and relax. Watching movies is great, but sometimes I just put 2-channel music on just to chill out. Maybe a video game once in a while. It is kind of relaxing. Like some people like to read books. I just like to come down here and chill a little bit. So it's definitely a space that I'm proud of. I made. I made this theater for myself. I didn't make it to say, oh, look at my theater or anything like that. But I enjoy showing it to other people and stuff like that. Hopefully they enjoy that. So it's just a nice thing to come down and relax to. Going to a theater. Well, let's see. I have this new theater 8 years now. I've been in the theater probably 4 times. I think I went for Maverick, Deadpool, Wolverine, and a couple other ones. The theater experience is nice. It is nice. I think too many people are on their phones, but the sound is not the same. It's loud, but since they have to, like I said, they have to do it for a big area, it loses its little quality. The subs are fine. They usually have the theaters too loud, and it hurts my ears. I can put this at reference, and reference just means what the movie is supposed to be at, what level you're supposed to listen to the movie at. That's what that's called. They say reference. I can have reference here. It does not hurt my ears at all, and it's louder than it is in the theater. It's just quality. So the theater experience is nice, but coming here is it's second to none. I don't go to the theater much anymore. So going back in time, if I had to go back in time to tell myself something, I think what helped is my first theater to my second theater, I did get the chance to do that because I knew I made mistakes in my first theater. But just to take time to really research everything, what you're looking for, what you want to get out of the experience. What are you looking to get out of it? Is it just to watch movies? Do you like 2-channel music more? Do you like movies more? Do you like both? Because you can get different subs, you can get different speakers depending on what you want to do. I kind of do I probably 80% movies, 20% music. So you go that route. That's probably my biggest thing. I just take my time. I do everything myself. This whole theater I built myself. But I probably push myself too hard. Just take your time and enjoy it, because it's actually fun building the theaters too. Even though sometimes it takes 6 months, a year and a half. Enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. And I probably rush it because that's who I am. I just want to get it done and have stuff like that. And it's never done. The theaters are never done. I'm hoping, like I said, they're done now, but they're never completely done. So the experience for the audio, I definitely think height matters when you have Dolby Atmos. I hear a lot of people say, Dolby Atmos is just a gimmick. It's not that good. And then I have people come to my theater and I show them the demos, and then they say, "Oh wow," because I think the height, the Atmos, the height does matter. I realize people can't do this. Not everybody can do it. You have 11-foot ceilings, but you can still do it well, even in an 8-foot ceiling, if you do it the correct way. You just want to make sure that you calibrate it correctly, and if you don't know how to do that, ask for help. They have plenty of receivers out there now, or I have processor that'll actually have Dirac, and it makes it so much easier to calibrate your room now that sometimes you don't need professional help. Some people do get professional help, which is cool also if that's what they need to do. But the sound it really makes a difference. Like one of my friends came over a couple weeks ago and he said, "Hey, something doesn't sound right." I'm like, "Well, what's wrong?" So we recalibrated again, and he was right. I'm more about the video side. I can see the colors. I know exactly what it should look like. But when it comes to sound, I'm not a super expert. So when I have my friends come over, I always ask people stuff. Ask people how to do stuff, or have advice. I don't take criticism. It's not criticize at all. They say something's wrong, I say let's fix it. I don't get all mad at them or anything. I don't care. So the video experience for me, I think it's the immersion. Definitely immersion. I have the way your head sits in the first row. It's at 14 feet away from the screen. and have a 17-foot screen, so it's a little bit more than 1-to-1, and it works out really well. You do not have to turn your head side to side at all, but it really immerses you. The projectors, I mean, what I started with, I had a Optima, I think a U70, I think it was a U70, it was 2004, 720p. Then I went to an Epson 1080p, and then I finally moved to, in the new theater, I went to a JVC RS600. That was my first 4K. Then I switched to a BenQ because it was brighter, but it wasn't as good as blacks. Then I went to an older Christie projector, which has really good colors, but it was obviously the contrast, which is the darks to the whites. It looked a little grayer, but it still had really good colors. And then I finally, with this screen, unfortunately, when you go to a screen this size, you need a lot of lumens, and you're not going to find them with even the JVCs. They're 2,000-3,000 lumens, and they work great. Those the Epsons, the JVCs, they all work great for smaller screens. But when you go to 17-foot 2-inch screen, this is a 206-inch wide screen, you need 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 lumens minimum to do this, and the Christie projector can do well over that. I only keep my projector at about 60% laser level right now, and it works perfect, because if you go any brighter, when you're doing the really dark scenes, and all of a sudden the bright scene will actually squint a little bit. So, but I'm the video wise, I'm kind of a videophile that way. I really can tell the colors. I want to make sure everything looks well. So.
Welcome back to Epic Home Theater Tours. I'm your host, Hatoraid Cowboy, and I think I'm in the most impressive home theater that I have ever been in for scale, audio, immersiveness, expansiveness, and I got the homeowner, Steve, here with me.
How you doing?
Steve, nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too.
So you have quite the home theater here. This is the biggest home theater that I've ever been in. We're going to talk about your speakers. We're going to talk about your screen. We're going to talk about your projector, all that good stuff. But what I always like to do is I like to kind of start off by getting to know the home theater enthusiast a little bit, and getting to know your story. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how you became a home theater enthusiast? When did that start, and why did you decide to just go all into this craziness that we love so much?
I think it started in the 80s. I'm 56, so I was an 80s child, and I always loved movies. I loved the sound, the two speaker VHS tapes, beta, and it just went up from there. I got to the Laserdisc, and then I went to the Super VHS, and then the DVDs, Blu-rays, and then in 2004 I got to build my first theater, my first home I built. It was more basic. It was 8-foot high ceilings. It was like 15 by 19, and just from then on, just loved it. Just loved the immersion. Just always trying to upgrade and watch movies, enjoy movies, and stuff like that. So, and then obviously this one is my second theater I built in 2016, and just love the home theaters.
So from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, most people, they buy their house, they build their house, and then you build your home theater around it. You built your home theater, you built your house around your home theater, correct?
Yes. So when I had the plans for this, we were like in the basement. I wanted to go 2 feet. I had 9-foot ceilings in the basement, but I wanted to go at 11-foot ceilings in the theater. So at one area, I made it down 2 feet lower, which actually made the bathroom upstairs actually longer, because I had to get a little bit more of this, a little bit more of this. So all of a sudden the bathroom upstairs got a little bigger because I wanted the theater. But yes, I built everything around this. And then as soon as I moved in, I had this theater. I built this theater in 6 months. The main structure of the theater, I had this built in 6 months all by myself.
So not only did you build this by yourself, but in 6 months, I know that sounds like 6 months is a long time, but the fact that you did it by yourself and you did it in 6 months, that's super, super quick. So tell me a little bit about, how did that work? Was it like long nights? You go to work and then you get off, and as soon as you get off work, you work till 2, 3 in the morning. Like, what was the
That's exactly what it was. I'd get off work and I'd come here, and I had everything delivered within, I think, about 3 weeks of us moving in. I had everything delivered, all the wood and everything, and I have a walkout basement, so I have it all by the door. It was all delivered right there, and I just started bringing everything in. And actually, when I first started here, it was just an open basement. I had a bucket, and I had a little lift, and I was just sitting on it, seeing how far back I need to be from the screen. I had blue tape on the cement wall to see exactly what size screen I want, just to visualize it. And then I just did. I know a lot of people get plans, they get plans for their theaters, and exactly what it's all in my head.
So funny that you said that. That was actually my next question. I was going to ask you, how did you envision this theater? Did you use AutoCAD? Did you draw plans, or was it just I'm just going to go off of what I see in my head and try to do it since you did it by yourself?
All in my head. No, there's no plans. All in my head. Just started building the walls, and I did do a few aerations. I was going to do doors that were on the sliding doors, but I decided to do open doors because the sliding doors are kind of a pain.
Right, especially for audio.
Yep, changed a few things around, but just nope. It's all in my head. Just kept going, and I changed things as I go because there's no plan. I just keep going. And the only thing I didn't do in this whole theater was the carpet. I don't install carpet. So
yeah, that's a pain. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. But everything is done. Yep.
Man, that is impressive. I've pretty much done everything in my theater, but I didn't build it out. So, mine was a cookie cutter house. I bought the house in 2018, and I just told them I had to pre-wire everything. And after that, I went in and I painted, installed the speakers, but this is on a whole nother level. And when you walk in here and you see this, if you don't tell people that you did this yourself, you would think this is like you hired a professional company to come in here. And I mean, especially like hearing you talking about the wall, the fabric.
Yeah.
That sounds like it was a pain.
That was trying to keep that up there straight, and then you have to get it straight, but you have to glue it. You have to and I use carpet glue. Actually, it's kind of vinyl carpet glue, and you got to get it up. Then you have to let the carpet glue. So you have to get it up there, get it straight. And then I had to put 1x2s up there to nail part of it to keep it straight. You kind of roll it out, make sure I had enough, and then it is a really big pain. And then once I get it straight, on certain here, I lift it up, put some glue on there on the bottom, and then lift it. It's a lot of work. The wife did help me with that, and she did help me with some ceiling work. But other than that, I just got everything done and just keep hitting there until it's done. And then after the theater was done, I finally started finishing the rest of the basement. Theater was first.
Theater priorities first, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and the rest of the basement looks amazing. And the fact that you did that by yourself as well. I mean, did you go to school for any of this stuff, or was this?
I was an electrician, from about 13 years in the unions.
Okay.
Then I switched to insurance about 23 years ago, but I'm just handy.
So you're not a carpenter. Like, I mean, officially, you don't do that for your job.
No.
So I bring that up because, some people, they see these tours and they see these extravagant, home theaters, and they think, oh, this person's rich, or they have the money.
No.
You saved probably hundreds of thousands? Would you say hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Probably at least $200,000. Even when we built this house, the builder, we actually painted the inside, what a lot of people do. We actually painted the outside of our house. I had an aerial lift you can get with your car, and I painted the outside, did all the trim work. We saved like $22,000 by doing all the painting ourselves too. And the builder's like, we've never had anybody paint their own side of their house themselves. I'm like, well, we did. So I mean,
wow.
The more you can do, as long as you know how to do it, the more you can save. Because you're right, this hobby can be really expensive.
Very, very expensive, especially on this scale.
On this scale, if you don't do a lot of stuff yourself. So, and I just keep going, and I don't ask too many people to help me because I'm kind of anal about that, and I can get really perfectionist about it. So I'm usually yelling at myself.
It's your theater, so you want it the way you want it, and correct. I totally understand
exactly.
that.
And it's always forming though, because the theater's something's always changing in the theater. But I'm hoping I'm about there now.
No, well, man, like I said, just the fact. The screen is just, I mean, Tony was telling me about it before I got here. Scott was saying he was super excited because he's never been here. We just seen it on the pictures, but until you walk in here and you see this, it's like so what Tony was saying was, he's like, we all have our home theaters. He's like, that's what I call a home theater. He was like, Steve actually has a home cinema. When you walk in and you see the size of the screen, you're like, oh my goodness. I mean, it's like you're in a mini IMAX. So when you were building the theater, you did it yourself. You did it as, you didn't have any plans. Were there any hiccups where you had to go back? You're like, oh man, I messed that up. Let me go back and fix that. Or did it just pretty much?
No, you always have hiccups. There's always hiccups trying to get something, trying to get the soffits right, trying to get this to fit right. You think, oh, they envisioned to put this or the speakers here, and the wall's in the way. There's always some stuff to change, and the wall had to change it at an angle there. But you just kind of work with the flow, and if it doesn't work right, then I just start over a little bit, but not too much. I mean, I knew kind of what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted for the ceiling. I wanted something on the ceiling, so I just kind of thought about it and just let it flow. Even when I put the mini split in, I was talking about before, the mini split, to keep my projector really cool, I had to run the coolant lines up through the ceiling through one of the fake coffers in here. So it was
and you had to do that after the fact, right? I just
did that 2 months ago. Did that 2 months ago to where, because these coffers up here, they're MDF board, and they're on the sides and the top, so I had to take the bottom MDF board part out, which is all nailed in, take it all out, take the screen off, drill a hole in the house and the outside to get all the coolant lines out there, and then put it all back together, make it hopefully look like it still was what it was before. So yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about JTR. What was your first experience with the JTR? Because like you mentioned before, you had some different speakers. When was the first time you heard JTR that made you think, you know what, I think I gotta upgrade, as we're always wanting to do, upgrade itis.
well, Jeff, he's the owner. Actually, I didn't know him at all, but he actually lived close at the time. He actually lived in Wisconsin, and I got to go to his house and actually experience I think he had the 215. The RTs, the 215, the ported ones, and I got there and he was watching it. They were doing a demo for a movie, and it was incredible sounding. And I'm like, wow, where's the subs? He didn't even have any subs hooked up. That was just 2 channels. He had 1,000-watt cherry amps on there, and I'm like, what? There's no subs on these speakers, and it's like incredible sounding. I'm like, wow, just the power of them. So that's my first experience there. And then I've had other home theaters I go to, because we like to go to home theater get-togethers just to see the equipment, get together and talk about everything and stuff like that. And that's my first experience. And since then, I just have got the RS2s, and then they got the 215 RMs, and then I'm going to eventually get some more RS2s and put up in the front row someday, but not right now. So
okay, you ever going to put anything back here again?
In the back, I might, but unfortunately, even though you have all these seats, we probably use 2, and then our son will be in the corner once in a while. He's at college. Other than that, it's usually just us 2. So I don't know if I'll put another set of RS2s back here just for get-togethers I have 2 or 3 times a year. So probably not. But I will put them up front. I think I'm going to put more up front.
Okay.
So.
And then as far as room dimensions, what's the room dimensions?
Exact room dimensions, stopping from here, not this part of the room. It's 25 feet 3 inches from here to behind the screen, and 18 feet 3 inches side to side.
And your ceiling height?
11 feet.
11 feet. So, we were talking about that yesterday. Tony was telling me, he was like, when you experience it, and I've always said this because I've been to CDI, Emily and stuff, but when you have a room that's this wide and this tall, the immersion factor there's something about the immersion factor. It just sounds different in a massive room that can't be replicated with a processor or a Trinom. Not knocking those because they're great, but those things can do some trickery to make your your sound stage sound a little bit bigger.
Yep.
Doesn't come close to actually being in a room this size. I mean, the Atmos was impressive. I've heard many impressive Atmos height effects, but one thing I wish that I could have done in my home is I have 8-foot ceilings. You said 12, right?
11 feet.
11 feet.
Just this area, 11
feet.
Yes.
The immersion factor from the Atmos is just phenomenal. I mean, there was, when we were watching like, Top Gun Maverick and stuff was flying over, we were watching different, demos, the Jurassic World, the dinosaur, it sounded like it was bigger than 11 feet. I mean, it sounded like it's outside of the house, like it's above the roof. There's just a different level of immersion. So your previous setup, what was the room size?
It was about 15 by about 19 and 8 feet high. Well, not even like 7 feet, 10 inches high, whatever it is, the drywall,
So much smaller.
Much smaller, yeah.
Okay.
And I've been in a lot of theaters that have the Atmos, and there's a lot of people I hear on YouTube, everywhere else, that say, the Atmos is just a gimmick. It's not. It's like if you have it, I realize people aren't going to be able to get the same height, and you can do it. But with that height, with that extra 3 feet, it really makes a difference on the immersion factor. Because I did some demos for these guys, and I did some Atmos demos where the sound goes right around your head. Yeah. And you can't, and it does have a, because Tony, a friend of mine, he's got a great theater and he's got really awesome sound, but his height, you can tell the difference in the Atmos.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, so the Atmos, and I've heard that before too. I mean, I get comments, so I don't need Atmos. 5.1 is great. But if you're saying that, clearly you either haven't experienced it at all, or you haven't experienced it where it's done right, because the immersion factor is just, it's hard to describe, man.
Correct. Yeah, you gotta have it. If you come, you gotta go to a real demo that really has it dialed in well. And it's yeah. I wouldn't trade it for anything now. No.
All right, so let me have you go around the room and tell us about all your speakers, your subs, and what the room is like.
So about the screen, The size of the screen is a 206-inch wide screen, so that's 17 feet 2 inches wide. I think it's about 86 inches high, which is about 7 feet 2 inches, I think, height-wise. The screen is a Seymour screen. Screens. It's a frame, and I did have it's called XT Center material, but then I switched about 2 years ago. I got it's called a V7 Dreamscreen material. It's just a little bit finer weave. They're both weave materials, so when you see it on a screen, you can see a little bit of a weave when you're like, we come really up close to it. But the Dreamscreen material is such a fine weave, even from 2 feet away, you can barely even see the weave at all. So it's just, and it's acoustically transparent. All that means is you can have your speakers behind the screen. You don't have to see your speakers, but they come right through just like the theater. So, the whole theater is only 18 feet 3 inches wide, and this is 17.2. So it's really, really with the frame, and the frame is like 3 inches on each side. So it's like 3 inches away from being the whole width. So it only weighs about 25 pounds. So it's easy to get down. It's extremely hard to move because the screen will flex and stuff like that. So, but it's just, I just always wanted a bigger screen, and that's what you do with screens. My first theater had a 119-inch 16:9 screen. Then I went to a 150-inch 2.35 to 1, which just means CinemaScope, 2.35 wide this way for each foot this way. And then with my new theater, I went to a 15-foot curved screen. And then about 2 years ago, I switched to a 17-foot 2-inch wide screen, and this is as big as it's going. It's obviously I can't go any bigger. My room is maxed out on this size. So, and then I also did the you can see this black material. This is actually going to be on. It's actually on the whole theater. We just took it out for now. It gives you a contrast. So basically, it just darkens out the walls, the ceiling, everything all the way around here. It just darkens it out completely. So all you see is screen, and it gives your eyes the more contrast, which just means it looks clearer. The blacks look blacker. That's all it does there. So that's what I did with them. And then there's also panels on the sides for acoustics and stuff like that. I have bass traps on the bottom. The bass traps are basically just for when you have bass in a room, they're big, huge sine waves, and they'll keep reverberating for a long time. So when you put bass traps in, it kind of stops the wave, stops the sound, and the next sound comes. So I have bass traps on the bottom. They're just made in insulation. I have bass traps on the sides you can't see on both sides of the screen. And then I have some bass traps in the back and just some and stuff like that. So that's the screen itself on there. So for the size wise, diagonally, it's about 224 inches diagonal. A lot of times we just go by width, but I know a lot of people go by diagonal. So it's about 224 diagonal. Like I said, it's 206 by 86 about, and then 224 inch diagonal. Behind the screen, I have JTR, the 215 RMs. They are sealed. My whole room is sealed. Some people like ported subs and ported speakers. I have all sealed. And I moved up. That was another upgrade. I went from PSA 210 MT-210s, and I went to the Seatons, the Seaton Catalyst 12Cs. I had those for 6 years. I loved them. But I just decided to upgrade one last time to the JTR 215 RMs, and those are powerful speakers. They're almost like subs in themselves. But with the speakers wise, the reason why I switched, the Seatons have a really warm feel. They're a really, really good speaker. They really are. The only thing I do not like about the Seatons is that the amp is built in the back of the speaker. So I actually just had one about a year ago. It went after, it's like 15 years old. So of course anything's going to break. It just costs, it's expensive to get it fixed. And then you're without a speaker for when you have an amps in a speaker that's built in, you have to send it out, get it back. It can take weeks and weeks and weeks. So with the JTRs, they're a little more powerful, but they're passive. So the amps are in the back. My amps are in the back of the room. So if my amp goes, I just switch it to a different amp and keep on going. So that's one reason I did it. Another reason why is I wanted a little bit more power. JTR, the RM 215s, or 215 RMs, I should say. They are a little bit more powerful, but both great speakers. So just decided to upgrade. So obviously I'm sitting down now. I'm sitting on the PSA T18s. They no longer make these. This Power Sound Audio. I've had these since I built the second theater. I've had them for about 9 years now. Yeah, almost 9 years, 8.5 years. They're wonderful. They're wonderful subs. They're really powerful too. It's a little bit harder to place than a front firing sub or opposite firing subs. But the reason I have them here, they just fit well. When I do the calibrations, I have the subs in the back, but these just fit well where they're at. They look good where they're at, and they fit well for the calibration. So for the speakers for sound, the side surrounds and the back surrounds and the height channels, they're all Power Sound Audio PSA. They're the 110, the MT-110 SRs. I've had these since I built the theater 8.5 years ago. They fit in really well with everything. That's one thing you really don't have to upgrade much, I think, when it comes to speakers, the surrounds and the heights. They're used a lot, but you don't have to really upgrade those. I like them. They fit well. They're on an angle, and it just fits well. I got the 4 heights on the ceiling, but it actually almost feels like there's 6, because sometimes you swear there's a sound coming from the ceiling in the middle, and there's not. So if you calibrate a system right, it really immerses yourself with the demos. Obviously, you can't hear the demo, but Jordan did. I had demos. It'll actually show you. It goes right around your head, and it's an amazing feeling if you get it calibrated right. So basically, this is the second row back here. First row is about 14 feet from the screen. Second row is about 22 feet from the screen. I have the RS2s, either the JTR RS2s. They're 18-inch dual subwoofers, 4,000 watt amps. They are really, really awesome subs, and they're workhorses. The reason why I have them in the front near the first row is because you get a near field. It's called near field. It's basically right in your back. And when everything's cranking, you're feeling it. It's not just hearing it; you're actually feeling it in your back. It's a really cool feeling. Obviously, it doesn't work as well for the second row. I used to have these behind the second row, but I'm like, when you have a theater, even though I have 10 seats, most of the time it's just me and my wife watching movies. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just put them up here, and we'll deal with it when we have people coming over for the second row. But the JTRs, they are just a wonderful sub, powerful. Yeah, just a great sub. So obviously for about 6 years of my theater here, I did not have behind my seats. I had the PSA T18s, and they're wonderful, and everything's going well, but it's immersion. But it's hard to get that feeling of the explosions and stuff as much without going too loud. You never want to go too loud just to crank it up, because then you're hurting your ears. So what I did was I got 2 more subs, and putting them behind, it's just an immersion you have when you're sitting in those front rows and the explosions are going off. It's not super loud. It's loud, but it's not super loud. It doesn't hurt your ears, but it's just, you get this feeling of just being in the explosion. So same thing with the screen. The reason why I got a 17-foot 2-inch screen, you are just immersed in the movie. It's a great feeling. It's not just the sound. It's not just the video. It's just an immersion. I love having people coming over and demoing it so they can see how a really movie should feel like and sound like. So obviously this is what I did is this is an afterthought. When I got the Christie Griffyn projector, it is a larger projector, and it is not super loud, but it's kind of loud. So I ended up building another room. This was just a back room I had. I had a pinball machine back here before, but I just built this extra spot in here. And then obviously I have the projector. You can see the lens in here, and I just blacked out in there. So when it comes in, it doesn't have any kind of reflection for this. And I just built a frame for it, and being in its own room. I actually built a mini split in there specifically just for the projector, so it gets to be like I can keep it at like 60, 65 degrees in that room for it. So it's real quiet. Once you're in this theater and everything's off and the Christie is on, you can barely hear it. So that's kind of what you want, because a lot of projectors can get a little loud and stuff like that. So yeah, so then basically, yeah, so on this part I blacked it out. I actually wanted to move the projector back a little bit because I was at the max of the zoom. So I actually moved it back about a foot inside the room. So then I blacked it out on the inside here. So basically with the frame, this is all the black fabric, the same as up front for the contrast. I just did this for 2 reasons. One, it looks better. When it's dark and you can't even see it, and you don't really want reflections. You don't want it where it's hitting and reflecting back, because then that you lose contrast. You lose the clarity of the picture there. So that's why I did that for it. Okay, so this is my projector room. I built this about 2.5, almost 3 years ago now. Just built it. I did use the same fabric, the same everything on here. But this is the Christie projector. I built a stand, and when I build things, I build them really, really. You could probably put an elephant on the stand; it wouldn't come down. So, but the projector itself is 175 pounds, not easy to move. And then I decided to move the projector back a little bit to get a little bit better zoom. So I ended up making a box. All this box is just styrofoam, and I put the fabric on the felt on the front there. And and I have just a conditioner here. I have my old BenQ projector. This is my HTP-1. I control everything by the home theater. It should be called a home theater PC. Just a PC, but we call it HTPC. And then I have that, and I have a server for all my movies. And then what I did was because it doesn't get really hot, but in a small room, you have to have like a fan blowing out. It's too much noise. So I finally put a mini split in. I just did that 2 months ago, and let me tell you what, mini splits are wonderful. They're quiet and they're cool. I can actually get this room down to 60 degrees if I want to. And the cool thing about mini splits are they're almost like a server. You can actually use this down to 5 degrees above Fahrenheit, which is something in central air units you cannot use. So it really gets cool in here. So when we're running and watching a movie and somebody will come in here, it's like, it feels like it's like a wine cellar or something like that. It's so cold. So it's a really cool projector. Like I said, I'm hoping it lasts me 15 plus years. That's for sure. So it's so then obviously on the inside of the projector, a lot of projectors is called, you can converge it. Basically what it is you have 3 points. You have a blue. This one actually has red, green, and blue lasers. So there's 3 different lasers. The blue is stationary, and then the red and green you can actually move. I mean, talking about fine-tuning them, but you can actually, inside this projector, I can manually fine-tune right, left, back, forth, up, down to make the picture perfectly clear. You usually need somebody to help you because obviously the screen's 25, 30 feet away, so I would be doing the dials, and you can do zoom, focus. You can do, the Christie projectors are just amazing what you can do, but you got to really know what you're doing, because if you don't know what you're doing, you can really mess it up fast. But these are workhorses, and yeah, it's just it's a really cool feature, and it's got a lot of, it's really easy. Once you get used to it, it's really easy to use. So okay, so basically for the walls, it's basically just framed and drywalled, and then on top of that, after I painted it and stuff like that, it's called Silent Source fabric. Movie theaters use this. They usually use it up and down. I like to use it across on here. So this is just basically, it gives it a little bit more of an acoustical feel. Obviously, it's a good look. It doesn't reflect, but it also has a little bit of acoustical properties to it to make sure the sound doesn't reverberate as much. The tough part about it is going, you can't see this on camera, but going from the one end all the way to the end here was 412 inches of fabric, and it has to be perfectly put up straight, or it would, yeah, it was really tough. But then I did this in the black. You can do different colors. It just makes it easier to do that. Some people use a lot of different kind of fabrics. Some people use drywall, but you really, in a theater, you're trying to get no reflections. If you're doing a true theater, if you do have the room to do it, you want to have it with no reflections, and this stuff just does not reflect much, and that's it just gives it a better feel of the video picture. So okay, as for my equipment, I have the HTP-1 Monoprice. It's a 16-channel processor, Dolby Atmos, DTX, everything else like that. It takes care of my system because I have a 744. It's actually one sub, but they still do 7.4.4. So this just takes care of it well. Obviously a PS5. I do play a lot of video games, so I play video games on the big screen, which is really cool. And then just my Outlaw amps. I have a model 5000. This is, I think, 100 watts per channel, 120 watts per channel, if I remember right, in 5 channels. And then this is a beast. This thing I've had for 8 years. It's a workhorse. It's a 7-channel, 300 watts per channel. It's 2100 watts. It actually takes 2 20-amp plugs to put in because it'll do a full 2100 watts. I don't think you ever use 2100 watts. I don't think it's even possible to, unless you probably go deaf. But that's my equipment. It's pretty basic, but it does the job well.
Okay, so you took us around the room, showed us your rack, you showed us your amazing projector, this is the first time that I've seen a Griffyn projector in a controlled home environment. I've seen them at, CEDIA and a couple other shows, but you have this in a controlled environment. The room is light controlled, and man, the presentation is just phenomenal, man. Tell me about the Griffyn projector. What do you love about it so much over what you had before, like JVC?
I mean, obviously the JVCs are great because they have the really good black levels, but I need a lot of light. And then the Christie Griffyn has the BT2020, which basically it's way more color than any projector out there because it's a red, green, blue laser. It's a three laser system. So you can have the colors just look fantastic, like you saw the demo for Spider-Man.
Yeah,
the reds.
The reds. I mean, the reds, the dynamic range on the color. I mean, everything is the reds are super, super vibrant, and the black levels, the contrast, man, was phenomenal. Just, I think we were watching Lucy and she was wearing something black, and then one of the other movies that we were watching, and Passengers has some amazing HDR. The HDR on this thing is just phenomenal that you're not going to get on like a JVC or a Sony.
Yeah,
so
when you saw I think that was Grindelwald's or whatever, the one with the dragon was going around with his hair lighting up. Yeah, that's HDR right there. That's
yeah.
So the Christie is just Christie projectors in general are workhorses. I had an old one that I bought used, and I got it fixed and had 57,000 hours on it.
57,000. Wow.
1,000 hours on it. It was still going strong. All the pixels were there and stuff, but those have less contrast. They're a little bit grayer, but they still have really good color. So I just wanted to go up. I had a chance to do this, and I just wanted to go up, and I'm hoping to have the projector for 15 plus years because it's got 4K. It's a 4K chips. It's not a shifting.
So it's native.
It's native 4K. It has the BT 2020 color, about 99% of the spectrum of BT 2020 color. And it's got up to 15,000 lumens calibrated. It's probably about 11,000 lumens calibrated.
Okay.
That's what I can put out. But I actually only run it at 58% laser.
That's wow.
I only run it at 50. I couldn't run it brighter, but that was 58% laser. You can run it to 100%, but I'm hoping to keep this projector for 15 years plus. I mean, there's really nothing else. 8Ks, I don't think 8K is ever going to come out.
I don't think it's going to be mainstream. And if you do, like the media storage is going to be astronomical to try to store something like that, either on some disc, which means new players, or if you're going to start coming out with 8K content now, you're talking about, double 4K the size of the storage.
So it's 60 S. Yeah, it would be. It'd be like 16. It would be 4 times the storage.
Oh, I'm sorry, 4 times the storage.
4 times the storage. So it'd be that just gets to be crazy.
Yeah.
So I think the projector's set for a long time. Like I was telling you, is the projector expensive? Yes, but I told you I sold my sports car. I had 2 pinball machines. I had to sell them.
Yeah. So see, guys, he's not just pulling money out of his pocket. He had to sell some things so that he could afford that, and that just goes to show you we all do that. No matter what our budget is, sometimes you got to sell stuff. Sometimes you got to save up for years. I mean,
sometimes you got to do everything yourself to save a lot of money. Because some people have sports cars, some people have boats, and my home theater is my hobby.
Yeah, some people have watches and
absolutely. So incredible. Yep, exactly.
So with that Griffin, just briefly, when you have a screen size this big, and again diagonally it's
224 inches.
224 inches diagonal. You need a lot of brightness.
Correct. Yeah.
So that was another reason why you went with the Griffin.
Correct. I'm doing right now at 58% laser. I'm also zooming it to 2.35, so there's obviously it's going on top and the bottom to get rid of the black lines. I'm at about 110 nits, which is about 32 foot candles, which is about where you want it. Because even movie theaters are probably only 20 foot candles. I know people don't know exactly what that is, but it's bright enough. You need to have brightness. Yeah, if you take this screen right here and put it on a JVC, now JVC projectors are great.
Right.
I had one. The black levels are wonderful. I said, but you can't light up a screen like this. It would be really, really. It would be okay, but it would be really dull.
Yeah.
So.
Well, man, you did a phenomenal job. Again, you put in a lot of time, 6 months of your blood, sweat, and tears. You saved literally hundreds of thousands of dollars if you had contracted somebody to come out here.
With the whole basement, easily. Yep.
Yeah, and you did the basement yourself. So, sometimes it takes time. And if you're handy, you can save so much money.
Absolutely.
And another thing about, I didn't do anything on this scale, but doing everything myself in my theater, to me, it just makes me appreciate it more.
Absolutely. Yeah, we come in here, and I can still, sometimes I'm watching movies and the sound, it'll still get the hair go up my arm.
You're like, I can't believe it.
I've had this for 8 years. Yep, correct. Yeah, yep. So I realize it's a really nice theater, and I enjoy it. I try to enjoy it all the time, me and the wife. So, yep, absolutely.
Well, Steve, is there anything else you want the viewers to know? Maybe, for somebody that's, looking to build something themselves or get started in this home theater journey? Any words of encouragement?
Like I said, just take your time. Do a lot of reading, do a lot of research, ask questions. If you know anybody that knows home theaters, like I said, I'll have a couple of my friends. They're really good at calibrating. They're really good at the video. They're really good at things I'm not good at. I ask them questions. They'll come here and they'll say, hey, your sound sounds a little off. I'm like, okay, how do we fix it? Ask questions, do a lot of research. Don't have to worry about what size I started out with a 119-inch screen 20 some years ago. Now they make TVs like 150 inch TVs nowadays and stuff like that. So you start out slow. You don't have to have the big grande everything. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the journey. If you're going to build a theater, enjoy the journey too. Don't just hurry up and get it done. And it's because the journey is fun.
That's important.
Yep. And when we have get-togethers, it's about the theater and about the movies and demos, but it's also about just getting together and enjoying the hobby. That's all there is to it. Yep.
And then real quick, what type of chairs are you seating?
These are microfiber. I like microfiber because leather's great, but it can get cold in the winter. Not really hot in here, but it gets cold in the winter. They're easy to clean, and they're real comfortable. They're real comfortable, and they've held up well for 9 years, and they clean pretty well, actually. If you get the dog, we have 2 dogs. You don't know now they're in the garage, but yeah, they can make a mess, and it cleans up really well. So I've got these from Steinhoffels, which is just a local, more of a Wisconsin store. I don't even know if they even make them anymore, but they've done really well. So that's why I'm in these. And like I said, we have 10. I used to have 12. I used to have 2 back here too before the projector room was in, but we didn't use them very often. I mean, just using a couple chairs. So yeah, even if you make 1 row, you don't have to have 2 rows, because most people don't have 10 friends that are going to come over every weekend and watch movies and stuff. We can watch sports on here. I watch football games, Super Bowl. I do play video games on here too, which is really, really cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's kind of makes me spoiled that way.
I know, right?
A 17-foot screen. So,
well, Steve, thank you for inviting us over and letting me document this and share this with the world again.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it was a pleasure. And next time I'm in Chicago or in the area, I'm definitely gonna look you up.
You could look me up and come on and watch a movie. I appreciate you coming over and taking your time too.
Yes,
sir. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to conclude it for this home theater tour, Steve's home theater tour. Let us know. I'm getting choked up. Let us know down in the comments what you guys think. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next video.